Welcome to the Free to Be Show. I'm so excited to continue this month's series on the power play of love. Last week I had an all-female panel, and this week I have an all-male panel, and we will be going to the next layer in on what it looks like. So as you see, I'm focusing mostly within the theme of the power play of love on self-love. So a lot of times men, they're not very vocal about this, and they may not even actually lean into it or know how to lean into it. But the most important part of self-love is being a stand for love. And I put together just the most dynamic panel I could think of. I was like, what men would be willing and able to have this conversation? So the first person who came to mind was, of course, David Chambers. Welcome. He has
Hey.
the Authentic Man podcast. And then I thought of Patrick.
Hi there.
Hi. Because he's a friend of mine and we have these conversations about self-awareness often. And then, of course, James Roberts, we go way back. And so this is my panel for today. So welcome, gentlemen. And
Hey.
I want to ask you, first and foremost, what does it mean to you to be a stand for love? And I'll just go in the same order that I introduced you. So go ahead, David.
Being a stand for love. I think for me, it's like standing up for it, and going for it. And when you are feeling that love, the love for yourself, is like being a fierce opponent and supporting it, not allowing it to fall by the wayside or allowing fear to get in the way, because often, fear and love are these kind of opposing poles that we're always battling against internally and externally in the world. So when we are a stand for love, it's like we are defending our love against any fears, any worries, any concerns. And then in turn, when we stand up for love, firstly for ourselves, we're standing up for ourselves. We're standing up for our own sovereignty, for our own needs, our own desires, and putting those front and center in our life.
And because I love to talk on mute, that's so true. Thank you for sharing that, David. And Patrick, what does it mean for you?
For me, it's about when you have two people to make this relationship really shine. You need to put yourself first, kind of like David said, to find yourself, to find what you truly stand for, and what your boundaries are, to create those healthy boundaries, so that together you can be two individuals sharing the love, instead of it being two people trying to impose our needs on the other one. To stand for love is to create that safe space that the two individuals can be as they are deep within. Don't have to pretend. They can be all natural and feel safe in a relationship.
What a great word to bring into this conversation, creating a safe space, right? So often it is a little bit of a battleground, I'm me, right? and to the diminishing of you, and just to feel and create that safety. James.
It's probably nice to go last on this one, because then I can let Dave and Peter and Patrick speak before me. I think for me, obviously, I'll come at it from maybe a little bit of a different tact of, I think for self-love, it's so easy for people to, when you describe to them, when they talk badly about themselves, when it comes from another person, they see your point of view. But when it's a case of being it towards yourself, it's very easy to get down that path of negativity quite easily, because you're incensed and in like a tunnel vision of, okay, if I take a negative move or the wrong move, I'm going to talk negatively towards me. So it's taking that backward step and maybe taking a bird's eye view of, okay, if I talk badly about myself towards what he senses an emotional circumstance, this can quickly spiral out of control. So you got to take that step back of, how much do I care about myself? And I do agree with what Patrick says. It's creating that boundary of self, of we all have businesses. It's separating ourselves from those circumstances and being able to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, I love that. That self-talk, it does radiate out, right? Especially when it's someone that's intimately, involved with you, and they feel your vibration, they almost feel your thoughts. And so being your own internal love bubble, right? And I think, when I think of relationship, I think of, basically two whole love bubbles, right? That they don't even have to intersect. They can just be two bubbles bouncing together, to the effervescence of each other. I see you like, Fred, like really agreeing, David. Tell me more.
Yeah. I really see relationship, when we're in relationship, is like if you're two whole people and we come together, like we have energy, right? And we feed into each other, and not to be feeding off each other constantly. It's like to be feeding to each other's mission, into each other's being. Like a lot of people end up in quite dysfunctional relationship because there's like this real overlapping. There's like a controlling that's trying to happen. One person's trying to control the other, or there's like codependency where they're so interlinked that they can't move independently as independent beings. And both those kind of structures, they really diminish the level of energy that we can bring to relationships. So when we are, as you said, two love bubbles, like whole, loving ourselves, and we come together, it's like the infinity sign to me. It's like we're flowing energy into each other, we're flowing love to each other, because we're resourcing ourselves. We're looking at, what do I need? How do I get the love that I need, not just in a relationship, but outside of life, or to, on my own. Like in some of the work I do with men, it's like even just going, what is self-love? How can I give myself love every day? Like, is it respecting the fact that I need to meditate every day and giving myself the time to do that? Or, men don't always do these sorts of things, like, take themselves for a massage because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel like they matter. It's like that message to be sent to ourselves that I matter to me, instead of waiting for someone else to tell us we matter to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about that too. Like men, they really don't publish anyway. I'm sure they do it, right? They don't publish their self-care days, or they don't even talk about their self-nurturing, or that they require it. And I'm also wondering, have you had any, like in your journey towards this, have you had any feedback that you're self-centered or you're arrogant because you care about yourself too much?
Yeah, I can go ahead.
Okay.
I'm thinking I heard this about when you're going to a relationship. I heard a lady telling me, don't you need to put yourself to the side when you go into a relationship? Like you need to blend together to create this togetherness, and then after some time, when you're like secure in the relationship, then you can like take out yourself and be more yourself. I asked her, for how long would you be like not yourself? What happens when you, after 1, 2, 3 years, become yourself again? What happens to the relationship? I mean, so I think a lot of people, for me, it's been a journey to really put myself first. And what I've noticed is when I start to do that, there's no one really reacting, because it's not like being egoistic. It's about being honest and true to yourself, and then the people around you, they can see who you really are, and they can act accordingly, instead of you being an act, and they have to interpret what you really mean, who you really are. So
Right. Yeah. So it helps you with your communication, basically,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Instead of you being like a reactionary or a mirror of them, you know, it allows you to really just bring your whole self and be fully present with them, which
exactly.
is a completely different dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. James, would you like to weigh in on that?
I think for me, obviously, we've got to go back some time for that of being called things like that, because, well, David and Patrick don't know that, but obviously you know me a little bit longer. I was an athlete for so long. To get to those heights in sporting world, you have to be selfish. You have to be, to a certain extent, tunnel vision, to be able to be successful, because ultimately, probably from the outside, it's viewed as selfish. It's narrow-minded, and it's all for you. But I looked at it as, well, you either come along for the ride or you get out of the way. So I'm giving you a choice, an ultimatum to some extent, to come with me or get out of the way, because you pulling me in the wrong direction. So I've probably had to dip more into that now in my current day-to-day life, of being a bit nostalgic and utilizing some character traits of the strengths, to be able to go, well, people want to be more motivated, to have better willpower, and to think like, oh, okay, let me dip into something that I think is no big deal, but it's, for other people, it's very much a big achievement. That's where it comes from. It's, I had a focus to be able to succeed, and that was a sacrifice to some extent to be able to get there.
Right. So you really focused on your building up your strengths, and for you, that was your love bubble, I guess. And it appears, though, that the people that in that part of your life, they were not their own love bubble, and so they didn't, you know, it wasn't a complimentary situation. It sounds like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
it's a judgment that people have of be it of, it could be your passion, your mission, however you want to call it, because maybe they failed at it in the past, of, I don't know, running a business. Oh, it can't be achieved. Why would you want to do that? The only reason they're doing that is because maybe they haven't got the foresight to be able to see that to be come to fruition. So they want to create an image where, okay, it's not reality for me, so let me make it a reality for you. And I think obviously this happens, men and women, adolescence comes along, and we start believing into the things like that. Whereas we still acted like kids. Our dreams are what they are. We've got this imagination to be creative and to think very, very big, and no matter what somebody says, you might take the knock and say, well, why can't it be achieved? But I think when you get to a certain age and you hear it enough, you start believing to that fact of, okay, maybe they're right, maybe I can't make this a success. And I obviously coach my community on, if you haven't got those foundations to be able to push back and challenge those thoughts and beliefs, you're going to struggle, because that's your normality. So why would you not kind of take, especially maybe family members, because they've got your best intentions at heart and they care about you, so you won't push back. And for I think for most people, it's trying to coach them, well, it's okay to push back. They're going to care about you regardless of the decision that you make, and you learn more from failing than you do from succeeding. So why can't you take that initial step into entrepreneurship? Why can't you do, I don't know,
You can still
want
be you.
it's
Yeah.
you're still ultimately you're gonna evolve as an individual, but you're still you.
Yeah. I love that. What were you thinking, David? I saw you.
Yeah, it's just this, when other people have their opinions of what's possible and not possible for you, it's sometimes to really stop and be like, I get it. It's not about me. This is about you and your reality and your experience. And, because often we hear people tell us like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that thing. And we take it really personally. We're like, oh, why are you saying that to me? We start to move into this other energy of like anger and frustration towards them. But if we actually flip a little bit and go, oh, wait, they're telling me that they don't believe this is possible for them in their reality. It's like we can step into a place of like compassion and curiosity and be like, I get it. You don't believe that that's possible for you. Like, what happened to you? What happened in your life that you believe that this isn't possible? And when we kind of tackle people from that way, it's still challenging, but it actually feels a lot softer for people to receive, that we can actually help them grow as well and shift the way that they relate in their own lives, as well as, give ourselves some space to grow as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So it goes back to communication. Really, ultimately, that's what I'm hearing, right? We have our own mindset. Other people have their mindset, but then communicating that effectively is really what it's all about. We will pause here to a commercial break and come right back and talk about what you had to do to free yourself to be who you are today. I'm your host, Cordelia Gaffar, the Emotions Opener. Welcome to the Free to Be Show. Do you remember when you were a young girl, joyful, playful, and carefree?